All right, ready to dive deep into AI and the law.
Let's do it.
We're using AI for Legal Professionals by Dr. Goudarzi as our guide. And wow, there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, AI is really transforming the legal field, isn't it?
Absolutely. Virtual persons, AI companions, AI making legal decisions, you name it.
It's fascinating how AI is evolving at a time when the legal profession is undergoing a lot of change, too.
Right, like it's this field steeped in tradition, but now it's facing all this new tech.
Exactly. And Dr. Goudarzi really digs into how AI itself has evolved, almost like it was preparing for this exact moment.
It's like the legal world's trying to catch up to science fiction. Where do you think AI started, way back when?
Well, Dr. Goudarzi takes us back to those early rule-based systems.
Okay, so like the really basic ones.
Yeah, computers were basically following a strict set of instructions, like a super complex flowchart.
I see, so no real thinking involved.
Not really. It was groundbreaking back then, but it pales in comparison to what we have now.
Right, because then came machine learning.
Exactly. AI could learn from the data it was being fed, so it could actually get better over time.
And now it's all about deep learning.
Right, with models like GPT that can practically write like a human.
It's almost like having a legal scholar in your pocket.
Pretty much. And think about AlphaGo, too. Developed by Google DeepMind, it actually beat a world champion Go player.
That was a big deal. A lot of people didn't think AI could ever reach that level.
And it's not just about games. It's about the strategic implications for law, too, like contract analysis, legal research, even predicting case outcomes.
Wow, AI is starting to excel in all these areas.
And it could give some firms a real edge.
Dr. Goudarzi named some of the key players in AI development too, right?
He does. OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, IBM, Baidu, Tesla, and Anthropic.
That's like a who's who of tech giants.
It is, and each one is bringing something unique to the table.
So like OpenAI, what are they known for?
They're the folks behind those GPT models we were just talking about. Their goal is to create artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
Like the AI we see in the movies, the one that can do pretty much anything a human can.
That's the idea. And then there's DeepMind, focusing on reinforcement learning.
Reinforcement learning, that's the one where AI learns by trial and error, right?
Yeah, like mastering chess by playing millions of games.
Wow. So how does all this actually play out in a lawyer's daily work?
Well, Dr. Goudarzi highlights some really interesting real-world examples.
I'm all ears.
One that stands out is a law firm using Kira systems to speed up contract review for mergers and acquisitions.
So instead of spending weeks going over tons of documents,
The AI does it in a fraction of the time.
it saves time, saves money.
And it lets firms handle bigger, more complex cases.
Like having a superhuman legal assistant.
Pretty much.
Dr. Goudarzi also mentions some other applications, doesn't he?
He does, like litigation analytics with Lex Machina.
Where AI analyzes past cases to predict outcomes, right?
Exactly. And there's e-discovery with Relativity, helping lawyers manage tons of documents during litigation.
It seems like every part of the legal profession is being touched by AI.
And it's only going to get more intense from here, which leads us to one of Dr. Goudarzi's most interesting concepts, the virtual person.
Okay, now we're getting into the really futuristic stuff. What is a virtual person exactly?
It's an AI, but it's so advanced that it starts to display qualities we usually associate with humans, like intelligence, autonomy, and even personality.
It almost sounds like science fiction.
It kind of is, but it's becoming more real every day.
And it totally challenges our traditional understanding of legal entities.
Right. We have humans and we have corporations, but where does a virtual person fit in?
It really blurs the lines.
It does, and it raises a lot of questions about rights, responsibilities, and how these entities would fit into our current legal systems.
Imagine an AI negotiating contracts or making business decisions.
Or even being held accountable for its actions.
It's mind-blowing. And it's not just theoretical either.
Right, the European Parliament is actually exploring electronic personhood for autonomous AI systems.
Wow, so Dr. Goudarzi might be onto something here.
He might be. It's a cutting-edge area of legal theory with huge implications for the future of law.
And it brings up so many ethical questions.
Absolutely. If AI gets to this level, how do we ensure it acts ethically?
And that it doesn't infringe on human rights.
Exactly. It's a debate that's just getting started as AI keeps getting more powerful.
It's not just about AI acting within the legal system either.
Right. Dr. Goudarzi also talks about artificial intelligence companions, or AICs.
Okay, what are those?
They go beyond just doing tasks. They provide companionship and support.
So like a really advanced virtual assistant.
Kind of. But they could potentially take on roles like professional assistants, emotional companions, even intimate partners.
Intimate partners. Wow.
It's definitely pushing the boundaries.
So you could have AICs helping with research, scheduling, offering support, even monitoring your health.
It's like having a personalized support system tailored to your specific needs.
But the intimate companion thing is a whole other level. AI designed for emotional and physical intimacy.
It's both fascinating and a bit unsettling, isn't it?
It is. What kind of ethical and societal implications does that bring up?
It's a huge question. As AI evolves, where do we draw the lines? How do we ensure its development benefits humanity?
And doesn't harm us in the process.
Right. It makes you really think about the future of relationships.
And what it means to be human in an age of increasingly sophisticated AI.
Exactly. It's a big question with no easy answers.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. Really gets you thinking about what the future holds.
Definitely. But let's step back from the hypothetical for a bit and talk about the real-world challenges of integrating AI into law firms.
Okay, so how do we actually make this stuff work in practice?
Well, Dr. Goudarzi dedicates a good chunk of his book to that, outlining hurdles and best practices. He's very clear that AI isn't some magic bullet.
Not going to replace lawyers altogether then.
No, not at all. In fact, he warns against relying too heavily on AI and really emphasizes the need for human oversight.
Makes sense. AI might be able to analyze tons of data and make predictions, but can it truly replace human judgment?
Especially in those tricky situations where understanding emotions, context, and ethics is crucial.
Exactly. So what does Dr. Goudarzi suggest? How do we approach this in the right way?
He sees it as a partnership. AI amplifies human expertise, but it doesn't replace it.
A tool, not a replacement.
Right. One of the things he stresses is addressing bias in AI algorithm.
Oh, that's a big one. AI is only as good as the data it's trained on.
And if that data reflects existing biases, then the AI will just perpetuate those biases.
Which is a huge concern in law, where fairness and impartiality are paramount.
Absolutely. Dr. Goudarzi brings up that example we talked about earlier, the AI sentencing tools potentially inheriting and amplifying biases from past data.
Yeah, it's a scary thought. It shows why we can't just blindly trust AI outputs.
Exactly. He highlights the importance of scrutinizing the training data and putting in safeguards to mitigate bias. He also talks about the black box problem.
The black box problem, what's that?
It's when an AI system makes a prediction or decision but doesn't explain how it got there. You get an answer without seeing the steps involved.
So it's like, just trust me, I'm AI.
Pretty much. And that can be a real problem in legal settings where accountability and explainability are so important.
You need to be able to justify your reasoning.
Exactly. So, given these challenges, how can law firms actually implement AI successfully? What does Dr. Goudarzi say?
I'm curious to hear his take.
Well, he starts with something simple but crucial. Do a needs assessment.
So before you jump into adopting AI,
Firms need to carefully figure out what they actually need and where AI can truly add value.
like any big investment, you need to figure out if it makes sense.
Exactly. Choose the right tool for the right job. Make sure it aligns with the firm's goals and practice areas.
Does it make sense? What else does he recommend?
Pilot programs. Test out AI tools in a controlled setting before going all in.
A way to see if they actually work before rolling them out to the whole firm.
It's also a way to spot any potential issues early on and get the team on board.
And once a firm decides to go ahead with an AI tool, what then?
Training and support are key. Lawyers need to understand how to use the system, interpret its output, and critically recognize its limitations.
So it's not just about giving them a new piece of software and saying, good luck.
Not at all. It's about empowering them to use AI effectively.
What about integrating AI into the firm's existing systems and workflows?
Dr. Goudarzi points out that this can be tricky. Firms need a solid plan for incorporating these tools into their existing infrastructure.
So it might involve migrating data, customizing workflows, even updating IT systems.
It's more complicated than just flipping a switch.
And even once the AI is running, the work doesn't stop there, right?
Right. Continuous monitoring and evaluation are crucial.
To make sure the AI is delivering what it promised.
And to ensure it stays updated as the technology evolves. It's like hiring a new team member who needs ongoing training and development.
A team member that happens to be a sophisticated algorithm. And of course, we can't forget data privacy and compliance. especially in legal work.
Absolutely. Dr. Goudarzi stresses that data security and compliance are non-negotiable. It's not just about efficiency, it's about ethics.
And upholding legal obligations to clients.
Exactly. It's a lot to juggle. But Dr. Goudarzi's overall message is optimistic.
He thinks law firms can thrive in this new era.
He does. He believes that with careful planning, the right tools, and a commitment to responsible AI use, law firms can not only survive, but thrive.
So it's not about being replaced by AI, it's about using AI to become better.
Right. He sees this as a chance for lawyers to lead the way in shaping how AI is used.
To make sure it aligns with the fundamental values of the legal profession: justice, fairness, ethical practice. It's exciting to think about all the possibilities. We've talked about the theory, the challenges, the ethics, but let's get specific now. How is AI impacting litigation and the court system itself?
That's where things get really interesting. Dr. Goudarzi highlights some fascinating applications in this area. One of the most prominent is predicting case outcomes.
Wow, so like having an AI that can tell you whether you're likely to win or lose.
It's not quite that simple, but it's getting close. These AI tools analyze mountains of data, legal arguments, even judge tendencies, to forecast how a case might play out.
So like getting a sneak peek into the future of a case, that's incredible.
Tools like Lex Machina and Premonition are already being used by firms to get these insights.
Wow, that could really change how lawyers approach litigation.
It could. It can help them decide whether to settle or take a case to trial. But Dr. Goudarzi warns against relying solely on these predictions.
Right, because AI can't account for every little detail, every unforeseen twist and turn.
Exactly. Every case has its nuances, and human judgment is still crucial. He also talks about AI's role in legal research and brief preparation.
So helping lawyers find the right information faster.
Exactly. Imagine an AI that can sift through all those legal databases and case law to find the most relevant info in a fraction of the time it would take a human.
It's like a superpowered legal research assistant.
Tools like RSS Intelligence and Westlaw Edge are already doing this.
Wow, so it's not just a future possibility, it's already happening.
And it's freeing up lawyers to focus on the more strategic aspects of their work, the stuff that AI can't do. Another area is e-discovery.
Yes, those mountains of documents. How's AI helping with that?
It's a game changer. Tools like Relativity and Everlaw use machine learning to categorize documents, flag important info, even suggest redactions.
So it's like having a whole team of virtual paralegals working behind the scenes.
It's making a huge difference, especially in complex cases with millions of documents. But again, human oversight is crucial.
Accuracy, ethics, compliance, it's still the lawyer's responsibility.
Exactly. Dr. Goudarzi also discusses how AI can help develop litigation strategies.
So like analyzing past cases to see what's worked before.
Right. Imagine having access to a playbook of winning strategies. That's what tools like LexisNexis and CaseText are doing.
Wow. So AI can help lawyers make smarter decisions and build stronger arguments? What about the courts themselves?
Things are starting to change there, too.
So we might actually see AI judges presiding over cases in the future.
It's possible, and it's already happening in some countries.
Really? Like where?
Dr. Goudarzi gives the example of China, where AI is being used to analyze documents, predict outcomes, even suggest rulings to judges.
Wow, that's a huge step. But also pretty controversial, right?
Definitely. It raises a lot of questions about the role of human judgment and empathy in the justice system.
Can AI really understand the nuances of a case? The human element.
That's the big question, and Dr. Goudarzi acknowledges these concerns. He stresses the need to address ethical considerations.
To make sure AI is used fairly, transparently, and accountably?
Right, we need to ensure that AI enhances justice, not undermines it. It's a delicate balance. We've seen how AI is changing litigation, even starting to influence the courts, but what about the bigger picture?
You mean the international legal consideration?
Exactly. Dr. Goudarzi dives into this, and it's complex. One of the biggest challenges is data privacy.
We've talked about GDPR in Europe and CCPA in California, but imagine trying to comply with all these different regulations across multiple countries.
It's like a legal jigsaw puzzle, and the pieces keep changing. Dr. Goudarzi gives an example of a law firm handling a case that involves both the EU and the US.
So they have to navigate both GDPR and CCPA, right?
Exactly. They need to get consent, implement strict security measures, and understand the nuances of each regulation.
It sounds incredibly complicated.
It is. Dr. Goudarzi emphasizes the need for law firms to have a deep understanding of international data privacy laws and to develop flexible compliance strategies.
And then there's the issue of AI liability across borders.
Mm.
If an AI tool makes a mistake, who's responsible? The developer, the law firm using it.
That's the tricky part. Different legal systems have different approaches to this. Some have stricter frameworks, others might not even have specific laws for AI liability.
It creates a lot of uncertainty.
It does. Dr. Goudarzi uses the example of a UK firm using an AI tool from the US for a client in Europe. If that AI makes an error that costs the client money, you've got a real legal mess on your hands.
So it's not as simple as just buying an AI tool and using it wherever you want.
No, not at all. Law firms need to be proactive, have clear contracts with AI vendors that address liability, and understand the legal landscape in every country where they operate. So what are the major trends in how AI is being used internationally in the legal field?
That's a good question. Is there a global consensus on this?
Not really. Dr. Goudarzi points out that different countries are embracing AI at different paces and for different purposes.
So some are moving faster than others.
Exactly. China, for instance, is much more open to using AI in courtrooms than the US, where the focus is more on things like e-discovery. It's interesting to see how these approaches are playing out.
It is. So is there anything that ties all of this together?
Well, Dr. Goudarzi emphasizes the need for a global perspective on AI governance.
He thinks we need to think bigger than just individual countries.
Right. AI is a global technology, and it needs to be addressed on a global scale. He calls for international collaboration to develop ethical guidelines, standards, and regulations for responsible AI development.
So a shared understanding of how to use AI ethically and responsibly. That makes a lot of sense.
And he believes that lawyers have a key role to play in this.
Lawyers. Why lawyers specifically?
Because they understand legal systems, ethics, and the potential impact of AI on society.
They can bridge the gap between technology and law.
Exactly. They can advocate for responsible development and help create a future where AI upholds justice.
It's a big responsibility, but also an exciting opportunity to shape the future of law.
It is. Okay, we've talked a lot about the big picture stuff.
Theory, implementation, ethics, AI, and litigation, even the global landscape.
But let's get practical for a moment.
Let's talk about how AI is impacting something as fundamental as client communication and marketing in the legal field. Does Dr. Goudarzi address that?
He does. AI is changing how law firms connect with clients, build relationships.
You mean it's not just about back-end stuff anymore?
Right. AI is becoming more client-facing. He talks about AI-powered chatbots.
Chatbots, like those things you see on websites that pop up and ask if you need help?
Exactly. But these are more sophisticated. They can answer basic legal questions, schedule consultations, even offer initial guidance.
Wow, so it's like having a virtual receptionist available 24/7.
That's the idea. Potential clients can get their questions answered immediately, no matter what time it is. It could revolutionize client service and make legal help more accessible. But would you trust a chatbot with a complex legal issue?
That's a good question. Can AI really handle those kinds of nuances?
Dr. Goudarzi is cautious about that. He emphasizes that for complex matters, human expertise is still essential.
So chatbots are good for those initial interactions, but not a replacement for a real lawyer.
Right. He also talks about how AI can be used to personalize client engagement and improve retention.
So not just getting new clients, but keeping the ones you have happy.
Exactly. Imagine an AI that analyzes client data, predicts their future needs, identifies risks, and suggests proactive legal services.
It's like having a crystal ball for legal issues.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Dr. Goudarzi gives an example of a firm using AI to analyze a client's business contracts.
And flagging potential compliance issues related to upcoming regulations, right?
Exactly. That kind of proactive advice can really strengthen the client relationship.
It shows you're looking out for their best interests.
And actively working to prevent problems down the line. It's a powerful way to differentiate yourself. What about email marketing? Could AI help with that?
That's an area where a lot of firms struggle.
Dr. Goudarzi says AI can help create more targeted and effective email campaigns. Imagine segmenting your client list based on their specific needs and sending them tailored newsletters with relevant content.
So instead of generic mass emails, it's about personalized communication.
Exactly. He gives the example of a firm specializing in intellectual property.
Right. They could use AI to divide their client list into groups focused on trademarks, patents, and copyrights.
And then send each group customized newsletters with information that's actually valuable to them.
It's about increasing engagement and building a stronger connection.
Exactly. And then there's client relationship management, or CRM. Imagine an AI-powered CRM that tracks interactions, analyzes behavior patterns, and suggests actions to improve those relationships.
It's like having a dedicated assistant focused on keeping your clients happy.
It can help firms be more responsive and identify potential problems before they escalate. For example, the CRM could identify clients who are at risk of leaving.
And then the firm could reach out proactively, address their concerns, and try to keep them.
Exactly. It's about using data to create a more personalized and effective client experience.
And Dr. Goudarzi even talks about using AI for lead generation, doesn't he?
He does. It's about analyzing website traffic, online behavior, and other data to identify potential clients who are most likely to need legal services.
So you can target your marketing efforts more effectively.
Exactly. He gives the example of a personal injury law firm using AI to analyze website visitors.
To pinpoint those who are most likely to need their services.
Right.
So they can tailor their online content and advertising accordingly. What about content creation itself?
Dr. Goudarzi sees potential there too. He talks about using AI for tasks like writing blog posts, articles, even social media content.
So lawyers could use AI to help them keep their online presence fresh and relevant.
It's about working smarter, not harder. He uses the example of an employment law firm wanting to keep its blog updated.
And an AI could generate weekly posts on topics like workplace discrimination, employee rights, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's about making content creation more efficient so lawyers can focus on their core expertise.
So it seems like AI is having a huge impact on how law firms connect with clients, market their services, and build those relationships.
Yeah. It's about embracing these new data-driven strategies and using them to enhance the client experience. And AI is a key part of making that happen.
It's amazing how much AI is changing the game for law firms.
It really is. And speaking of game changers, Dr. Goudarzi seems particularly excited about ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, that's the one everyone's talking about, right? What makes it so special for lawyers?
It's a really powerful language model. It can understand and generate human-quality text. And Dr. Goudarzi sees huge potential for it in law. He talks about it as a virtual assistant for lawyers.
So it can actually help with real legal work.
Absolutely. Imagine using it to draft a simple contract, to summarize a complex case, or even explain a legal concept to a client in plain language.
It's like having a legal expert on call, 24/7.
Right. But there's a bit of a learning curve.
So it's not as simple as just typing in any question and getting a perfect answer.
Not quite. Dr. Goudarzi talks about prompt engineering.
Prompt engineering, what's that?
It's about crafting the right questions or prompts to get the best results from ChatGPT.
So you have to learn how to talk to it in a way that it understands.
Exactly. It's like learning a new language, the language of AI.
Interesting. Does Dr. Goudarzi give any tips on how to do that?
He does. He says be clear and specific, use legal terminology, and ask for structured responses.
So it's like giving instructions to a really smart but literal-minded assistant.
That's a good analogy. And as these tools become more common in law, mastering prompt engineering could become a valuable skill for lawyers. Dr. Goudarzi even provides sample prompts in his book.
Oh, that's helpful. Like what kind of prompts?
Things like draft a simple confidentiality agreement for a software development project, or summarize the key findings of the Donahue v. Stevenson case in the context of duty of care.
So it's like having a cheat sheet for using ChatGPT.
Exactly. It can really streamline things. But even with these tools, it's crucial to remember that lawyers still need to use their judgment.
Right. AI can't replace human expertise entirely.
Dr. Goudarzi emphasizes that lawyers should always double-check the information they get from these tools.
And, of course, protect client confidentiality.
Absolutely. It's about using AI to enhance their skills, not replace their ethical responsibilities. It seems like one of the main messages of Dr. Goudarzi's book is this idea of finding the right balance.
Embracing the power of AI while upholding the core values of the legal profession.
Exactly. It's about being thoughtful and responsible in how we adopt these new technologies. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have, from the theory of AI in law to its practical applications in litigation and client communication.
And even specific tools like ChatGPT.
It's been a fascinating journey. AI is clearly changing the legal world in a big way. what are some of the key takeaways you'd want our listener to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that AI is here to stay. It's not just some futuristic concept anymore.
It's already transforming the legal profession.
Exactly. And lawyers who embrace AI and learn how to use it responsibly will be the ones who succeed in this new era.
It's about adapting, innovating, and constantly learning.
And staying true to the fundamental principles of justice and ethical conduct.
As we wrap up this deep dive, is there a final question you'd leave our listener with? Something for them to think about as they continue to explore this exciting field.
I'd ask them to consider what role they see AI playing in the future of law and how they can help shape that future.
It's a challenge and an opportunity to be part of something truly transformative.
Exactly. And as Dr. Goudarzi's book so clearly shows, this is a conversation that's just getting started.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great discussion.
And thank you to our listener for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another exploration of the cutting edge of law and technology.